Hi guys, Dave here from Wolf in the Wild Survival. We're going to have a bit of maybe a semi-boring video for you today. Not going to be super exciting, but it is going to be informative and a lot of my opinions. And I've had some people tell me that I talk too much, my videos are boring because, you know, I talk instead of doing more action. So, for those of you who feel that way, you might as well just skip this video, go watch a cat video or something. This is not going to be something that you're going to enjoy. However, if you want to have some tips and tricks on building a bug out bag without spending thousands and thousands of dollars, then just keep on watching, and I'll do my best to try to give you as much advice as I possibly can. Okay, so first and foremost, don't worry about aesthetics, okay? If it's functional and it suits your needs, then it doesn't have to be pretty. Now, certain things are a matter of taste. Some people like the gray man kind of look where you're not really noticeable. Other people like the sort of the camouflage or the military look, or, you know, sort of a practical look if you think that you're going to be doing, you know, kind of anything stealthily kind of idea. And some people like the tactical look. You know, everything's sort of black and it's got all kinds of doohickeys and D-rings and, you know, kind of whatever, and yeah, molly webbing, and, you know, it's the whole tactical thing. And, you know, I mean, that really is a matter of taste, and by all means, build your bug out bag, your get home bag, your inch bag, or your camp pack to your taste. I happen to kind of enjoy more of the military style because of the green and the camo and the fact that I know it's rugged, and that's what I go for. Is I beat the heck out of my gear, guys. You know that. I mean, you know, I need good rugged tested gear. Military does it for me. Other than that, if it's banged up, if I have to sew it, if I have to do odd bits of repair and whatnot, so what? Who cares? As long as it's functional, as long as it's in relatively good shape, as long as it's going to get the job done, it really doesn't matter if it looks new or old or whatever, okay? Chrome don't get you home. That's words to live by right there. So do not worry about aesthetics. Don't go and make sure that everything is always brand new. Buy it secondhand, do some repairs, beat the hell out of it. No big deal. Something else you're going to want to do, and it does kind of follow in the don't worry about aesthetics kind of idea as well. Look for deals. Not everything has to be brand new. And there's deals to be found at thrift stores. Most of the military gear I have, it was probably found on either Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji. Just somebody sort of, you know, selling some old gear for whatever reason, you know, they just don't want it anymore, and they're selling it off. I haven't gone wrong yet. There's a place here in London called Forest City Surplus that I do get a fair bit of stuff from. That's where I got my old Molly 2 rucksack in the ACU. Which, you know, great pack, by the way. I certainly didn't have a problem with it. I'm not a huge fan of the ACU, to be honest, especially not the desert stuff. But hey, I don't let aesthetics rule my decision on a lot of that, so I bought it. And it was a very, very good pack for me for quite a long time. So basically, just about any Army surplus pack or used pack or you know, budget deal kind of whatever could certainly be good for you. It might need a little bit of repair, but always, always, always look for a deal. A lot of people don't know how to sew. Pack looks a little worn, maybe it's got a rip or two in it. You can get it for a couple of bucks, 20 bucks, where, you know, it would be probably over 100 brand new. So definitely, whenever possible, always try to get a deal on something. Next, fairly important thing is try to avoid cheap crap. Now, I know that kind of sort of seems contradicting to my last point of try to find a deal, but when I say try to find a deal on quality items. Avoid going to places like the dollar store or, you know, similar places for important items or sort of things that you're just not likely to find cheap. Like a compass. You do not want a budget compass because it's going to be garbage. It's not going to work. Even if it works in the store, chances are eventually it's going to stop working and it's not really going to be super accurate, ever. That's been my experience with most cheap budget compasses and most budget items. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. I get the odd thing from the dollar store, like say my camp cutlery. Well, my kids' camp cutlery, I should say. To be honest, my camp cutlery I got Sea to Summit, and it's fairly expensive. It was 25 bucks for a set. Super lightweight, super good, but 25 bucks for a set. So I got my kids some cutlery, some camp cutlery from the dollar store, made by a company called Camp. And, you know, I mean, fork, knife, spoon, you don't need Sea to Summit. You don't. I'd be just as happy eating out of the plastic cutlery that I got for my kids. It you know, it really isn't a big deal. But on items where it actually matters, you do not want to get the really, really cheap garbage because it's going to let you down when it matters most. Let me see what else. Things like Mora knives. They are fairly cheap, very inexpensive knives, but they're not garbage, they're not crap. So there are exceptions to the cheap rule. You just got to know what they are, or you have to know somebody that you can talk to about this and get some insight. You know, YouTube channels, do your research before you buy anything. That would probably be another good point. Before you make a major purchase, or, you know, even a minor one, do a little bit of research and make sure you're going to get your money's worth out of it. Next, get rechargeable. Whenever you have the opportunity to get some electronic device that has its own batteries in it, it's capable of being plugged in and recharged itself, get rechargeable. Flashlights, headlamps, anything like that, anything at all. Until then, get rechargeable batteries. Now, that might seem like a bit of an expense, and in a way it kind of is up front, but the money that you will save and the convenience that you will have to be able to charge your own batteries while you're out in the woods with a $50 or $60 camping solar panel, it's going to make life so much easier. You go into the woods for an indeterminate amount of time with regular batteries, but when they're dead, they're dead. And you might as well have not even have brought a flashlight or a headlamp or whatever it is you're using. So, get yourself a decent solar panel, maybe a couple of portable battery banks, and absolutely everything that you have, get rechargeable. And that segues into my next point, which is fairly important, actually. It's one of the things to really keep an eye out for. A tool is a tool. This is my saw. That's all it does. My shovel is my shovel. I think it has a bottle opener on it, which I find to be a little bit ridiculous. I don't want to open a bottle with my shovel that I dig in the dirt with. But, you know what? Whatever. I don't need a hammer to be anything but a hammer. I don't need my shovel to double as a bottle opener or to flip burgers with. My rucksack doesn't need to make bread. It just needs to hold all of my materials. If you get a tool that is completely multifunctional, like out the wazoo, then it's probably kind of one of those jack of all trades, masters of none, and it's probably not going to be all that good. All in all, your toolkit should have different tools for different jobs. Okay? You don't need to have a screwdriver that's also a hammer. Now, I know I've already said it at least once, but do your research. Talk to people about their gear. Check out YouTube channels that do reviews. You know, people that might know a little bit more than you do about the subject, and learn from it. If they're doing a review, try to get somebody who's doing a review of their own free will, not that the company is giving it to them as a sponsorship. You know, because they're more likely to not really like it all that much, but still maybe say, you know, oh, hey, this thing works great. You never know. So it would be probably a little more honest if the product being reviewed is not, you know, like a sponsorship kind of idea or whatever. But either way, do as much research as you possibly can. Don't just buy the first thing off the shelf and hope that it's going to be okay for you. Not that there's anything wrong in doing that, That's pretty much the way I learned, to be honest. There was no YouTube back when I was starting out. As a matter of fact, there wasn't even an internet. But that would be counterproductive for doing it as cheaply as possible. I'm actually a big fan of learning by personal experience, but if you're trying to save money, then that's not the way to do it. So do absolutely as much research as you possibly can before you start making the purchase that you're thinking about. Now, this next point seems a little messed up in the situation we're in with the whole COVID-19 thing, but do everything ahead of time and take your time. Don't do it at the last minute. Don't be in a rush. If you're rushing through trying to get everything done, you're going to do a lot of impulse buying. And a lot of that might not necessarily be the best item for you or the best way to save money while you're doing it. So, for those of you who haven't done it yet, in the light of this COVID-19 thing, should have had it done ahead of time. But in a way, it's never too late to start, so start now. But try to take your time and don't be in a huge rush to get it done. Look for deals. Do your research. Impulse buying, bad way to do it. Waste of money. Whenever possible, have a team of people. Work together. Communicate with one another. If you have a team of 5 people, you do not need 5 axes and 5 shovels and 5 of sort of, whatever. Say, I'll bring an axe and Harry brings an axe and Tom and Richard can bring shovels. And Mary and Jane can have some decent saws, but we'll find out what kind of saws Mary and Jane has, and we'll get extra saw blades as well. So if, say, one of them has a silky saw, for bushcrafting, best saw on the market. But blades do break. They break all the time. Doesn't matter what kind of saw you get, they break. And they dull. So you're going to need new blades. So if Jane has a silky and a couple of blades, and I buy a few blades, and he buys a few blades, and then, say, Mary has the Agawa Boreal 21, then Tom and Richard each buy 5 blades. You're golden for ever. Not forever, but a long time. You're golden for a good long time. So build a team, communicate with one another, and work together. Instead of buying 5 pup tents, buy 1 or 2 large, what do you call the large tents? Whatever they're called. No. No. What do you... Oh. Anyway. You got a couple of tents that are kind of like huts. So, like maybe one for the guys, one for the gals, or married couple and, other married couple or whatever. I mean, instead of 5 pup tents, buy a couple of yurts. That's what they're called, yurts. Buy a couple of yurts. They're perfectly good tents, and a lot of them you can actually hot tent them with little wood stoves and whatnot. Working together really is the only way a lot of us are going to get through a crisis like this, or like what we're talking about. It's how our ancestor did it. We work together towards our own mutual benefits and mutual survival. So, you know, I mean, it's worked pretty good for the last 100,000 years. Why would we change? Next point might anger a few people. Oh, might bother a few people, but facts don't care about your feelings, and it is a fact. Learn to do without. It astounds me that every single year somebody's got to get like the brand new phone or the newest car or whatever shiny, more powerful thing that's just ever so slightly better, but obviously a year newer than whatever it is they're using now. Well, in a survival situation, you're going to do without a lot. So you might as well put at least some of that into practice and just learn to do without. In an economic collapse, there is so much that you guys are going to do without. So get out. Get your gear and practice using it. Go camping. Go hiking and test your gear. Really, really get out and field test the hell right out of your gear and learn to do without. It will definitely help you in the long run. The next tip that I can give you is going to be very helpful to a lot of people, I'm sure. Learn how to make your own gear or repurpose gear as much as possible. If you are creative and savvy enough, you can come up with all kinds of crazy ways to do things that turn out to make a lot more sense than wasting a bunch of cash on its overpriced constituents. Say, don't go out and buy one of those camp grills. Those really expensive camp grills they sell in all the camp stores, and don't get one of those. Just grab one out of your barbecue or out of your oven. Cut it down to the size you need, and away you go. You're golden. Same thing with medical supplies. I mean, yeah, sure, get some medical supplies, some boo-boo stuff, and, you know, kind of whatever. Have a good first aid kit. But those really, really expensive sort of trauma things, just get some feminine hygiene products and throw it into your kit. If you fall down and get a puncture wound or a stab wound or whatever, you take one of those feminine hygiene products and you jam it in the hole and push the plunger, and you go and find whatever medical aid you can. Or, you know, you get like a big slash or whatever, throw a pad or two over it, wrap it up with a little bit of Gorilla Tape, go find medical aid. You don't need to spend a ton of money on these things. There are cheaper options that will probably do a better job. And all in all, anything that you can sort of save money on, you can put towards really important things that you're going to need to kind of spend some of the cash on. Decent saw, decent knife, whatever. Try to be savvy and repurpose as much as you can. Learn to sew, knit, crochet, whatever. It'll only help you in the future to learn new skills. Another useful tip to save money: learn how to bushcraft. The whole concept or art of bushcrafting is to go into a forested setting and make things that you would need or that would help make your life easier or more comfortable out of natural materials. In a prolonged bug out scenario, sooner or later, you're going to have to learn how to do this stuff. And honestly, it would be a lot better to learn to do that stuff now than when you absolutely have to. Now, next tip. Try not to be wasteful. Learn to use things to its absolute utmost potential. There was a movie a while back. It was Denzel Washington, and it was called The Book of Eli. And in the movie, oh geez, what's her name? I can't remember her name. I cannot remember her name, but she played opposite to Denzel Washington for like the last half of the movie. And she says, what was it like before the war or before the whatever happened? And he said that people had more than they needed, and they threw away things that people kill for nowadays. And the profoundness of that statement cannot be ignored. It's the simple fact that the things that we throw away, like a 2-liter soda bottle. You know, I'm drinking soda, it's empty, I throw it away. Somebody in, some third world country somewhere would love to have that 2-liter bottle. They could go down to, whatever river, they could gather up their water, they, bring it, they could, keep bottles of water in their hut or hooch or whatever. And there's all kinds of crazy ways you can use those things to help filter and purify water and, kind of whatever. And we just toss them away. People would love to have something like that. We need to learn how to be less wasteful and more resourceful for the good of our own future, basically. Just learn to use everything to its utmost potential. Do not be wasteful. And the last point that I'm going to make, just so that this video isn't super, super long, is probably one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you, that almost anyone can give you, at least that I can think of right now, is buy your bag after you've bought your gear. You buy up all the gear you think you need. Try to be as complete as possible. Figure out what kind, what size, what general, sort of bag can you get within your budget, and get that bag last. If you get a great big giant bag and you fill it up with the gear that you think you're going to need, and you have extra space in there, you are going to fill it. Trust me, that is human nature. Like, across the board, over prepare as much as possible. I do it, and I have to rein myself in. So what you want to do is buy your bag last and get the bag that will fit the gear that you have. The gear that you have will match your skill set, your knowledge, and your needs, and be happy with it. Don't get this gigantic, huge, out of control rucksack, because eventually you'll find excuses to add more and more things to it, and it'll be way too heavy for you. So, at least from my 2 cents, that's a video. I would very much appreciate anybody to chime in the comments section and give out any advice that you feel is important that I missed. Advise me and other people that are reading it. Please help us out. If I missed something, and I probably did, if I missed something that you feel is super important, join up in the comments section. That's how we learn and grow. Help each other out. Thanks for watching my video, guys. I know it might be a little bit boring for you just listening to me ramble on, even though I feel the information is still pretty useful and it's, you know, it's worth a view. And hopefully I'll have something a little more exciting to do coming up in the future. Hopefully this lockdown COVID thing sort of peters out and we can go back to camping and lighting campfires and enjoying ourselves rather than just sitting around with nothing to do. See you in the next video, guys. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, have a good one.